Hey, what's going on? Dennis Huff, KOMP 92.3, where Vegas rocks. We got a guy in here, a legend of sorts. Some might say it. You might not, but I could. I mean, if you're a metalhead, you probably know Metal Blade Records, and you probably have heard at least of the owner, Mr. Brian Slagel. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Thanks for that nice intro, too.
Oh, you know,
Very
I
nice.
just made it up.
Good job.
I could have done better. So it's weird because I kind of sort of, we were, I don't know, maybe acquaintances in Phoenix because you lived in Phoenix when I worked in Phoenix.
Yep.
And then I've been here, gosh, almost 20 years now. And then I heard a while back that you would move here. I'm like, this guy follow me?
Yep.
This is the place to be, I guess. I just
You
beat
have a
him
stalker.
here. Yeah, man. So it's awesome. But I remember somebody here, I don't know, but I tried to get you that picture. There was a picture that someone took of us.
Yep.
In probably 1990 something, 98.
Was that
maybe?
the one with John Bush?
Yeah.
And
Chris Barnes.
Chris Barnes.
And then you and me.
Yep. I think Larry Mack was in there too, maybe.
He was,
he?
yeah.
I think, yeah. That was fun.
I was wearing a shirt from a new band nobody heard of called Slipknot. It was great. It was a long time ago.
Ahead
And
of
now
your
it's cool that you're here, man, and welcome to the show. I just saw you at the Kerry King show a week or two ago, right?
Yeah, that was fun. House of Blues.
That was a good show.
Yeah, I love it out here, man. It's awesome.
And you got a museum.
Yes, we have a Metal Blade Museum out here. It's right near the Rio, actually. So it's right kind of on the strip. And there's a lot of other stuff other than just Metal Blade. We've got stuff from Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Deep Purple, Styx, Thin Lizzy, like a whole bunch of stuff we were involved with. And it's kind of a cool little spot because nobody's really done a metal museum really anywhere.
Right.
So
when you'd be the guy.
Yeah, well, we have all this cool stuff
Yeah.
that are just sitting in storage. I go, it kind of sucks it's in storage. And just kind of got the idea to do one. We found a really cool spot and just kind of filled it up with a whole bunch of really cool memorabilia. And yeah, it's open every day, noon to 3, except for Sundays.
Is it like guided tours kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah. My man Scotty is over there, and he gives the tour every day. And if I'm around, I try to go in at least once a week if I can to do a tour. If I have friends come in that they want to see it and stuff. But it's pretty fun.
If you get lucky, you get one from the man.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And if I'm not mistaken, one of the artifacts that I believe you have in there was given to you by a kid named Lars Ulrich.
Yes, it was I believe at the time I got it, there was maybe 10 of these, but it's the original No Life Till Leather tape.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny story behind there. So obviously, Metallica started on the first Metal Massacre record, which is the first compilation I put out, and that's how Metallica started.
Right.
But that first track, the original version of Hit the Lights, it's a good song, but it wasn't. You wouldn't listen to that and say, like, oh, this band's going to be something good, right? Mm-hmm. So get the demo. My good friend John Cornarens, John, I, and Lars were all really good friends. So he has this tape, and I'm working at the record store. And he comes in afterwards and said, I want to play you something, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm, all right. Yeah. So he puts it on, and I'm like, wow, this is really good. Like, I thought it was some band from England or something. Like, who is this? That's Metallica. I said, that's Metallica? And that's the No Life Till Leather, now famous demo.
Right. And that
sits in the museum.
And it just sits there for us all to see.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you ever, I mean, I know it's been, I don't want to say how many years, 40 some years, but does it ever just dawn on you? Maybe you're just sitting there, bathroom, maybe having coffee on the patio, sitting on the whatever, and you're just like, you hear a Metallica song and you're like, it's kind of because of me.
Well,
because they did all right.
Yeah, they did okay. And they've always been really, really nice to me, and they've included me in everything. They always say, if it wasn't for him, this might not happen.
I've heard them say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. I still believe that something would have happened. But probably the craziest moment, because sometimes you go and you watch them play in the stadium, it's like, holy, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But the one moment I'll never forget, we were in Cleveland, Ohio, when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Uh-huh. And they had a party at the House of Blues the night, I think it was the night after they got inducted. So it ended up just being Lars and I, probably 2:30 in the morning or something. We're having a couple of adult beverages. And he just looks at me and he goes, how the F did all this happen? Uh-huh. Like how, it was kind of weird because we're just sitting there like, we were just 16. I was 18, he was 16 when we met.
Kids.
And just kids that were in love with this music that was happening in England. And the next thing you know, 35 years later, whatever it was when they got inducted, that's kind of mind blowing. When stuff like that happens, you're like, wow, that's weird.
And that was just a happenstance. Like, he might, had he not like been turned on to you, or met you.
Well, that's kind of the story is, I'm putting together this compilation record. And he said, hey, if I put together a band, can I be on it? I'm like, sure. Because the backstory was he and James had rehearsed a couple of times, but James is like, this kid isn't really very good at drumming, and he kind of passed on it. But then, in 1981, to get on a record was a big deal for a band. So James was like, oh, wow, we can be on a record. So he got back together with Lars, wrote this song, and then the rest is history, as we say.
That's just an amazing piece of history, though. And I believe that you're probably right. Somebody would have seen something, a spark in that band, and if they would have kept it together.
Yeah, I mean, look,
because this gave them gas.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to rewrite history, right? But I was in the right place at the right time. I'm happy that I helped do whatever it was.
A lot of us are happy that you helped. You know,
but they did the bulk of the work.
Well, they put in a little bit too. But I mean, that's one of the bands that I've seen. Probably the bigger numbers of times.
Yeah,
and I've seen them, and it's always. I mean, the first time I saw them, I think was after the Black Album came out. So they were already just massive. I don't have any of those. Man, I saw him once at this club named Steve's Bar.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people did, and I know people that saw them back in those days.
Somebody was telling me a story recently that they were in the LA scene at the time, and we saw Metallica. I kind of forgot about this gig, but we saw Metallica once in front of 19 people.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing, dude.
I saw Slayer play in front of 6 people once.
6 people.
Yeah, 6 people.
Nice. And that's the thing. You guys can thank Brian Slagel for a lot of these bands, Metallica, the Slayer, which everybody loves, Armored Saint.
Yes.
Like, when I was a kid growing up, all my tapes and CDs and whatever, I always wanted to read the liner notes. That was the cool thing for me. I'd open it up and listen to it and just get in it. And there was always a graphic on the back of some record label. A lot of them was Megaforce. Yep. A lot of them was Island. A lot of them was Metal Blade. And I'm like, it's so ingrained into my head. And I'm like, how many years now? I'm 50 years old, and I'm talking to the guy that's kind of cool, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's crazy. It's been 43 years. I still go, how did that happen?
Yeah, but it happened, and you did a great job. You did good for yourself, and you did good for the metal community, and you're highly regarded.
Yeah,
and highly respected. And
I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. I can't play anything, so my path to do something to help was to do whatever I could, and it ended up being in doing this record label, which we're still doing, and it's still doing well, which is crazy.
But a lot of us in the metal community see that in you. Like, you're just a fan, just like the rest of us, but you had something in your brain that was able to help you facilitate that whole movement, and it's great. And we appreciate it, and we still love going to metal shows.
Yeah,
but we talked a few minutes ago. I don't like to be in the mix. Yeah. I'd like to lean up against a post somewhere and, not get bumped and moshed.
Yeah, that's the young man's game, right? Yeah, I can't. Same thing. I need a chair and a decent spot to watch the shows. And
maybe some fresh ice in this Coke or
exactly,
something, man. Exactly. So what else do you have going on, man? You're a Vegas dude. Are you staying? I mean, you're putting in some kind of roots around here.
I love it here. I've been here 8.5 years now. I got a couple spots out here, and I love it. I don't plan on going anywhere else.
Nice.
I just did. So there's a great charity organization out here called Monday's Dark, and they do 2 shows a month at the Space, and it's all for charity. And Mark Chinook, who runs it, is like, he does the Golden Knights and ESPN and a bunch of stuff. He's a really good dude, but he's a charity guy.
Yeah.
And they do this. They give $10,000 to a local charity every 2 weeks, and they've been doing it for years. He's given like almost $2 million away to these charities. So they had me on the other day. He has a thing now called Road Case Stories, where he brings somebody up and you kind of talk about it. And he was asking me, like, you're in Vegas. Why did you come to Vegas? And I said, well, I came from LA. I've never been in a city where, like, it's a small town here. Everybody kind of knows everybody.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
And when I first moved here, it was so nice. Like, what do you need? You need a doctor. You need a lawyer. You need a handyman. How can we help you? I was like, why is everybody so nice?
Everybody knows a guy.
Yeah, a restaurant. Hey, come to my restaurant. So I just love that here. Like, everybody knows everybody. Everybody gets along. It's just a really great community, especially entertainment community.
Yeah.
So I love it out here.
It's changed a lot in the 20 years that I've been here. Of course. I mean, I grew up in Phoenix. That was a monster city. So coming here, it felt smaller, and now I've kind of been growing around me. You know what I mean? And it's kind of strange, but there's still a lot of just a local homey kind of feel here. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, I like it. There's no traffic, which, I mean, that's the big thing for me. I mean, that's why I moved here in the first place. I just got sick of spending 3 hours a day in a car in Southern California. And
Yeah,
like
I
now,
can't imagine.
people complain out here a little bit. I go, you slow down to like 30 miles an hour for like 5 minutes. Like, come on.
I get pissed off if I get stuck in traffic for 5 minutes. I'm like, I could have been home 5 minutes early, you know.
Yeah, my only complaint out here is the traffic signals, though, are the longest I've ever been in.
Some of those seem
So
like
you hit the wrong signals at the wrong time. It can take you an extra time. But other than that, it's all good.
yeah, that and we're gonna go the rest of our lives driving through traffic cones.
Oh yeah. Oh.
That is a stable thing here.
Isn't the state flower, right?
Yeah, even if there's no work. Yeah, put out some cones, Jimmy.
Exactly.
These people are getting along too quick. So what else? What else do you have going on, man?
Yeah, so I'm doing a podcast now called
100
Songs That Define Heavy Metal. Again, Metallica is involved in this. I did their podcast, and the guys who distribute it said, would you like to do a podcast? And I said, well, I've got a podcast in with this producer who used to do Dennis Miller, and we had this podcast concept, and so they loved it, so I'm doing it now, and just basically pick a song that I think is an important song to heavy metal or kind of helped it go along. I get a producer to talk about the production, and then we get somebody either involved with the band or just a fan to talk about the song, and it's about 45, 50 minutes, and you can get it anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Nice.
100 songs that define heavy metal. We've done Slayer, I had Kerry King on, and Dave Lombardo on, and
cool.
I've had a bunch of guys. It's a lot of fun.
And you spend the whole 45, 50 minutes just dissecting
Talk
this
about
one song.
One specific song, and we've done, Alice Cooper Elected, Slayer, Black Magic.
That's cool.
System of a Down. So it's kind of all over the place. And it's a lot of songs that I felt were important because I'm an older guy. I grew up in the 70s, so I kind of see where it formed, and it's kind of more historical. Sometimes I would like people to listen to it and go, I didn't really realize that this was so heavy and kind of spawned all these bands.
Yeah, it's kind of been, I mean, I've had similar conversations too with younger people who like, heavy metal. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm like, Avenged Sevenfold. Well, if there was no Pantera, there might be no Avenged Sevenfold. If there was no Black Sabbath, there might be no Pantera. If there was no Beatles, there might not be a Black Sabbath. And it all goes together. And it's kind of cool to think about how it's evolved over the last, 60, 70 years.
I love the fact, too, that a lot of the younger bands now are really getting into the roots of stuff. Like, they'll ask me, like, can you make me a mixtape or a CD of, like, Thin Lizzy or, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow? Like, I want to learn all this stuff. And they all love Iron Maiden. They all wear the shirts on stage. Yeah. And, these are kids in their 20s that love going back to listening to the older stuff. And a lot of it's also because their parents.
Right.
Parents were good parents, and they were, hey, listen to Iron Maiden. And they grew up on that stuff.
That's what my dad did.
Exactly.
That's what I did. And all the way back to Little Richard, there might not be any Beatles.
Exactly. 100%.
I mean, that was probably the first like real rock and roll. Don't you listen to that kid or you're out of my house. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that was dangerous.
Yep.
And that's always been the element of heavy metal, and that kind of whole circle of people is not dangerous, but it's dangerous. You know what I mean? Like that's out there. That's freaking people out.
100%.
That's not going to get you. It's not going to kill you. No. It's not that kind of dangerous, but it's like, oh man, that's a little too wild, kids.
Yeah, it's rebellion. It's
and
good.
My dad let me listen to whatever I wanted, and I let my kids listen to whatever they wanted. And some of it's garbage. A lot of it is, but they like Slayer, they like Pantera, they like Death Punch and all this stuff. So and they're girls and they're younger, and I'm like, that's great, dude. We need more of you.
Yeah, they're coming in. Ghost started with us actually. But they, on this last tour, they had a whole TikTok thing that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now at their shows, so Monomarth, one of our bands, opened for Ghost on their tour last year. And I went to the first show and I was talking to them how it goes. It's weird because the first like 5 rows are all girls.
Yeah.
Like young girls all dressed in makeup and look like nuns and stuff. And I'm like, really? And they told me the whole story about the TikTok thing. That's crazy. And I watched it. And this is the gateway.
Right.
Like, this is the gateway to metal, and then now they're singing Monomarth, and they're liking that, which is heavier. So the female portion is I've noticed a lot of younger girls really getting into metal lately, just going to shows.
I've seen some.
Wow, that's
I saw
new
a lot
and
of girls at the Kerry King show.
Yep.
That I was expecting, When I was a kid and going to see Exodus at the Mason Jar, there weren't any girls.
Nope, exactly.
None, man. Like, no girls went to heavy metal. They didn't like it. And then until One came out on MTV, the video for One, and then now girls like Metallica.
Yeah.
Kids in Nebraska like Metallica.
It's all good.
Yeah, man. It's fine, though. Everybody's like, I don't like it, man, because all the preppy kids like it. That's good.
Yeah, I know. That's always the way it is, though. We talked about bands all the time where the bigger you get, you're eventually going to lose some of the early fans. When Metallica put out Ride the Lightning, in our little metal world, the nickname for that album by a lot of people was Ride the Light Bulb. They thought they sold out there because there's an acoustic guitar on the record. I was like, really?
Oh, they paid for a producer.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys suck.
It's just natural evolution.
What do you think your favorite Metallica record is? Top of your head.
Ride the Lightning.
Same.
Love it.
You can't touch that.
No,
you can't touch that, man.
It's so, and that's when I don't really like the first album as much because James couldn't really sing quite yet then.
Yeah,
but he came into himself on that one, and it's just such a great record.
Yeah, there was an evolution between those two, because he sounded like a kid.
Yeah,
on the first, he was, but I mean, you could tell that's a kid singing.
Yeah,
and then he got a little older, and maybe he grew a few more chest hairs, and then they did the next one, and then by the time Master of Puppets, it's over.
Well, he wasn't a singer either. He was never a singer. And he just became the singer because that was the only thing they had to do. The famous story is they tried to get John Bush from Armored Saint to be in the band forever in the early days. And John's like, no, these are my bros I grew up with. I'm not leaving. So James said, all right, well, I guess I got to learn how to sing now.
Yeah.
He did okay.
Yeah, I think so.
He did okay.
He did. But the evolution of James' voice from 1980 something to now, like now he does not sound like a kid. Now he sounds like Grandpa James, Papa Het. You know what I mean? It's a more mature, older person. Like it's totally like not even the same guy, but it is. But he sings those old songs from the '80s, and it's like, it's different watching you do that live.
Yeah, it's still good. It's weird though when you think about like subject matter of would you predicted that he'd be talking about mental health and everything? All these years later. But I love it. I think it's great.
You wouldn't think so, man. I wanted to ask you one more time before I have to let you go. How did you manage signing the Goo Goo Dolls to Metal Blade Records?
Right. So they were from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Home of Cannibal Corpse. And they actually opened for Cannibal Corpse a few times back in the day and did well. They were a punk band.
Well, they were a punky rock band when they started.
Punk band. Originally, the bass player, Robbie, sang
Long Way
and wrote
Down
half
or
of
whatever?
It. Yep.
Yeah.
Johnny did the other half. And we had a punk label. We had DRI, COC, Ugly Americans, a whole bunch of bands, Dr. No. So we had this punk label, and we heard the first Goo Goo Dolls record, Jed, and I thought, this is really cool. Like, let's talk to them. So we talked to them, and we signed them, and I loved them. They were super fun live, great guys to work with. And over the years, it just kind of progressed where they were getting a little more commercial.
Yeah.
We had to deal with Warner Brothers at the time, so we figured, okay, this is perfect. And we're working this one song called Long Way Down, thinking that's going to be the big hit. And Kevin Weatherly, who was programming KROQ in Los Angeles, which at the time was the biggest station in the country.
Right.
One night he just decided to put on this song Name, which actually ended up on the record at the very last minute because Johnny had done it. It's an acoustic song. And he said, it's different than the whole record. Should I put it on? I go, yeah, it's a good song. Just put it on the record. So Weatherly, out of nowhere, plays this song and people go crazy for it. And within a month, the band had a gold record.
Big hit.
And blew up from there.
Big hit.
Yeah. But yeah, they were a punk band.
So, yeah, I remember that when they were younger and they were new, and that was like, and then they changed, and I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's what happened. They got a big radio song,
Might
and then
be
all
for
of a
my
sudden,
sister now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird. People ask me all the time, why were they on Metal Blade? I say, well, they were a punk band, and they're still really good. So.
Yeah, it seemed. I mean, even like a heavy punk band, would almost seem a little mismatched when you've got your Cannibal Corpses.
Yeah,
just because
exactly.
Yeah,
we like all sorts of music.
Yeah, well, we do. Yeah, so do I, man. Yeah, for sure. So, so you got your podcast going. Then get that wherever. What's it called again? 100 songs.
100 songs that define heavy metal.
100 songs that define
it's
heavy metal.
Not long enough, is it?
Nah, it'll work. You can abbreviate it.
Yeah.
And we've got the is it official name? A Metal Blade Museum.
Metal Blade Museum.
Okay. And you can book tours for that.
Yep. Metalblade.com/museum.
And you like hockey. We all know that.
Yes.
Have you gravitated towards the Knights? I know you're not like.
Of course, I've been season ticket holders from day one.
Yeah.
I try to go to as many games as I want to.
Because people ask me, I tell them I'm not a hockey fan, but I'm a Knights fan.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're a bandwagoner. Call me what you want, dude. It's fun.
I know so many people that didn't know anything about hockey until that team came here. It's the first real team we've had here in Vegas.
Yeah.
but they all love the sport. Now, Chris Cale is a great example.
He is.
I saw him, I don't know, maybe the second or third game of the season, the first year, and he was saying, I don't know anything about hockey. I went to a preseason game. I fell in love with it. And then he's become this huge fan. He's like, well, he's sending me photos of him in the hotel room watching it on TV when they're on the road. I love stories like that.
He got him tattooed on his hand.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's great.
I love those, man. And every game, the arena's always sold out.
Yeah, and the game is just incredible.
Yeah.
The whole entertainment part of it, nobody does
I
like
don't
what they
think
do out here. It's
anybody
insane.
would do anything like we do out here.
It's great.
It's got to
so
be
much
bigger.
fun.
I wonder what some of the teams think when they come here and they're like, we got to sit through this parade.
It's intense. I've talked to a lot of other fans of other teams, and they love it. This is crazy.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I do too.
And I'd like to go whenever I can, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're in Vegas, and I'm glad you're still carrying that heavy metal torch. And you probably will till you die, and we appreciate everything you've done.
100%.
All us metal kids, man. We owe a lot of it to you, one man, to facilitate it. You didn't do it all. Like you said, you don't play any instruments.
That's true.
I wanted to be a part of this industry too, and I have zero talent, nothing to offer the world other than what I'm doing right now. So,
well, that's a talent. You do a great job at it. You've been doing it a long time. So,
yeah, very long.
You should pat yourself on the back.
I could, but my neck hurts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Brian Slagel from Metal Blade Records, thank you so much for coming down, and you're welcome here anytime, dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, I will see you soon.